Embrace the creative mind, the sheer intellect, the indisputable beauty, and the unrivaled wisdom of our women. It's International Women's Day, and we are celebrating the tremendous contributions of our women to the development of Jamaica. Most recently, a cohort of young women created history in the first all-female sitting of Parliament. This signals the government's commitment to gender equality in Jamaica. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Jamica Magazine. We have lots more lined up for you. We'll be right back.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, March 8, 2023. For the sixth consecutive fiscal year, Jamaicans will not be faced with new taxes to fund the national budget. Instead, Minister of Finance and the Public Service Dr. Nigel Clarke has announced that the more than $1 trillion budget will be financed by increasing the efficiency of existing revenue measures. The minister was opening the 2023-2024 budget debate in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. He announced three key revenue measures designed to further reduce Jamaica's carbon footprint, improve the use of renewable energy resources, and spur more economic opportunities for citizens. They include the introduction of an income tax credit provided to employed and self-employed taxpayers for the purchase of residential solar photovoltaic systems for electricity generation.
The local cost of a solar system can be, varies, depends on the size of the system. And to incentivize the input across households, the government of Jamaica will provide an income tax credit equivalent to 30% of the purchase price of the solar photovoltaic system, up to a maximum of investment cost of $4 million.
This measure takes effect in fiscal year 2023-2024. So too, the application of a standard GCT rate of 15% on the second sale of motor vehicles by registered car dealers, applicable only to the difference between their purchase cost and the selling price. Currently, where a dealer buys a second-hand vehicle from an individual for resale, GCT is applied to the full sale price, while individuals making direct sales only pay a flat fee of $12,000 to $18,000 in lieu of GCT.
So you buy the vehicle from somebody for $100 and you sell it for $120, you pay the GCT on the 20. And that small change, Madam Speaker, will catalyze a new subsector in Jamaica.
The third revenue measure eliminates GCT on the importation of live horses, small ruminants and pigs to take effect before the end of the first quarter in the new fiscal year. Minister Clarke says this is designed to rejuvenate the horse racing industry by improving the quality of horses coming into the island, as well as enhancing food security through the importation of small ruminants and pigs.
Today, we only collect $6 million in GCT for the importation of horses, goats, pigs, and sheep combined. These policy changes give up that small amount, but will likely generate substantially more and support domestic economic activity.
Government will be creating codes for positions within the public sector to transition thousands of contract workers to permanent staff. The reform for contract workers in the public sector will be implemented over 3 fiscal years, ending March 2026. Approval will be sought through the Strategic Human Resource Management Division of the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. Portfolio Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke says approximately 20,000 persons fall within contract arrangements.
We will approach this in a phased basis, working on one or few areas at a time until we accomplish the task. And we will engage with our union partners in developing a realistic timeline.
Minister Clarke says the process will begin with the education sector to elevate the employment status of watchmen, cooks, and infant-level caregivers. Other phases include sanitation workers employed in the National Solid Waste Management Authority, drivers and constituency secretaries associated with members of parliament, and junior doctors within the public health system. This will allow the workers to be part of the government pension scheme.
This government, Madam Speaker, will bring long-awaited reform in this area and improve the lives, Madam Speaker, as we share the gains.
The finance minister revealed that the immediate cost to appoint persons to the newly created positions is approximately $2.5 billion, with the larger impact being on pensions. Also coming out of Parliament, minimum wage earners can look forward to increased rates in the new fiscal year. While making his budget presentation yesterday, the Minister of Finance and Public Service announced that new rates would be outlined by the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Carl Samuda, in April. This comes a year after minimum wage last increased, moving from $7,000 to $9,000.
As the minimum wage was only changed 1 year ago, many minimum wage earners are concerned and anxious as to whether they'll have to wait another year or two for another increase. And Madam Speaker, we know times are tough, and we know in today's Jamaica that though there was an increase just a year ago, that $9,000 is an insufficient amount to live on in Jamaica today, especially after the inflation shock of last year. Minimum wage earners, therefore, Madam Speaker, can look forward to a meaningful increase.
In other news, wastewater treatment systems will be completed at the Black River and Pepin High Schools this fiscal year as part of the $1 billion expenditure primary and secondary infrastructure program. As part of the program, the Ministry of Education is also expecting to complete the construction of classrooms at Bridgeport, Jonathan Grant, and Newell High Schools. Construction activities will also commence at 6 secondary institutions and 1 infant school. In addition, full electrical upgrades will be done at the Little London and Exchange primary schools, as well as 11 secondary schools. Security fencing will be installed at other institutions. And finally, municipal corporations are being provided with trucks to assist with the distribution of water to communities most impacted by drought conditions.
We are providing trucks for all municipalities. At least 7 municipalities so far has been provided with brand new trucks. Coming from allocations that we had made in the last financial year from funding that we had, and trucks will be provided, more trucks will be provided, new trucks will be provided for those MCs that have not yet received trucks.
Minister Mackenzie provided the update during the Standing Finance Committee's recent review of the 2023-2024 estimates of expenditure. He says government will continue to provide funding for the trucking of water, pointing out that approximately $35 million remains from the $150 million budgeted in the 2022-2023 financial year. Meanwhile, he says a survey is being conducted by the Rural Water Supply Limited to examine the feasibility of expanding water supply across 4 parishes.
I think we have identified 4 parishes that they have gone in to do a survey to find out where there are streams and rivers. As a part of their mandate, rural water for the new financial year, is to find these areas and to see how we can now get water into communities using
Which 4 parishes,
rivers.
Minister?
The local government minister adds that more water shops will be constructed to increase access to the commodity in several communities across the island. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Practicing good driving habits benefit our women, men and children. Remember, the aim is always to prevent collisions and get to our destinations safely. Let's learn how you can drive to save lives.
It looks like I'm all ready to go, but am I really? Yes, I'm doing all the right checks to make sure my vehicle is road ready. But what about everybody else? How do I get ready for them?
driving to save lives, time and money in spite of the conditions around you and the actions of others. But in a nutshell, we want to ensure that, we leave our destination and we reach home safely without creating any harmful situation for any other road users.
Using the techniques of defensive driving helps you to reduce the chance of other people's mistakes affecting you and your vehicle.
You must always be aware that though you might be a good defensive driver, the other road users a lot of times aren't. People will borrow your lane, people will overtake carelessly because they're tired of being in front of a vehicle that is slower than them or a truck.
The government is targeting behavioral change among drivers to reduce the country's vehicular collisions and fatalities, and defensive driving is one of the tools. Grinnell's driving school is known for championing safe driving. Director and instructor Seth Grinnell leads us through some useful defensive driving techniques. Let's learn.
The road code says that the person who arrives first should be allowed to go first, assuming that everyone now, of course, comes to a stop at the stop sign. We'll creep to our line of vision to see if it's safe to go. I'm going to make a right turn and then I proceed. Using the cover and scan technique, when approaching an intersection, we usually want to shadow our brake, but most times what we do, we toot our horn, we don't slow down because we believe the horn will stop the person's vehicle pressing their brake for them. That's not the technique we should use. So when the light turns to green, we wait at least 2 seconds. Then we scan our intersection, ensure no one is running their light, and then we proceed safely. All right, so we're on Hope Road, and this road slopes slightly downhill. So it's very easy for you to gather speed without even knowing. Now the speed limit is 50 kilometers per hour, but I can promise you, I am going 50 now, and you realize that people will be passing me with ease. Now, one of the biggest issues here is that people always crash into the wall right at waterfalls there. Now, there are adequate road signs. We can see the road signs, the backdrop, which speaks to caution or warning, and the left arrow bent like that means left bend. So caution, left bend. Now, if you do not slow down, there's even a recommended speed here, I promise you your vehicle will only try to go straight. You will not be able to maneuver the bend, and the wall shall meet you. So the road signs should be adhered to.
Eager to learn, we quizzed Seth some more about other defensive driving techniques and how to deal with the narrow roadways, especially in rural Jamaica.
Bumper-to-bumper collisions is one of the highest crashes that we have, especially in built-up areas. Within Kingston, we have a lot of built-up areas, people who are late, people who are impatient, and the closer you are to the vehicle in front of you, the more likely that if you are distracted, if you aren't really aware of the situation, you'll end up into the back of the vehicle. Even a sneeze. Because when you sneeze, sometimes you jerk forward and before you know it, you're in someone's trunk. A lot of times what happens, you might be peacefully going about your way. Someone bad drives you, and then they give you some choice words, the body language, and you believe that you have to meet them in kind. You just have to let it go. It doesn't positively impact your driving. A lot of times it leads to you taking unnecessary risks. So you want to take extra caution, use up your horn to alert the road users in front of you that you are coming and that they should hold their side of the road and so forth.
There are many ways to deal with the far too many lives being lost on our nation's roads. Government's enactment of the New Road Traffic Act is helping to actualize the transformation by issuing harsher penalties for road safety breaches. Defensive driving puts the driver in the seat to save lives. With more calculated efforts and responsible actions, it protects the most vulnerable road users and benefits all without a cost.
International Women's Day is a good day to highlight the many achievements of our women in all areas of national life, but particularly in STEM. During the last few years, we've come to understand how the size of the seed may account for the elevated levels of toxins in our national fruit, ackee, and measures that we all can take to reduce or prevent illness associated with ackee consumption. We've also learned more about the living environment, which accounts for elevated levels of mercury in the blood of many children, and what that may mean for brain development, learning, and autism. And we've also been able to develop new varieties of papaya that are resistant to the destructive ring spot disease. I'm so proud that each of these developments has been led by or involves Jamaican women working in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Like the rest of the world, Jamaica does not have enough women in STEM, but the work that our women researchers continue to do is simply remarkable and deserving of our recognition and respect. As we turn the spotlight on women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, I hope to inspire young women to consider careers in this important area where they can help to find solutions to pressing real-world issues. Jamaican women bring their special perspective, intelligence, talent, creativity, diligence, resilience, and hard work to every role they undertake. I'm confident that we will see and feel the difference when more of our sisters take their place in STEM. I'm absolutely clear that we get the maximum benefit when women and men work collaboratively, harmoniously, and as equals to deal with the challenges of our time. Today, let us encourage, affirm, protect, and show maximum respect, love, and appreciation to our women. Let us recommit and do our part to make Jamaica a great place to be a woman and a girl. A place where we can all achieve our potential and contribute to nation building in any way that we choose. Happy International Women's Day.
We're moving, but this time it's into what were once uncharted territories. Women have been climbing the professional ladder and breaking glass ceilings for centuries. It is why we pause today to recognize their incredible journey and the realization of the weight of their achievements. But the movement must continue to flow. Watch this next feature to learn why.
History and perhaps culture have kept many women a rung lower on the professional ladder and firmly planted in fields once deemed a man's domain. But more women are going beyond the expected and dismantling these stereotypical norms. One of the biggest areas in which they're going beyond the unseen rules guiding gender and professional expectations is hydrology.
Hi, I'm Alexia Gray and I'm a woman in hydrology.
Hi, my name is Natalie Hutchings and I'm a hydrogeologist at the Water Resources Authority. And yes, I'm a woman.
I ended up being a hydrologist completely by accident, by serendipity. I wanted to do engineering when I finished high school, but I didn't get into the program when I first applied. So I enrolled in geology and physics classes in my first year at university, and the rest is history.
As a hydrogeologist, some of my routine work includes wells and stream flow monitoring and measurements. I also do water quality sampling, and I create maps and do reports. So essentially my work takes me traveling around Jamaica in search for water sources. Hydrogeology was something I've always wanted to do. So from high school, I wanted to be a geologist. So I went to UWI to do geology. And then that led me into a career at the WRA, where now I work in water. And I've come to appreciate water as the most invaluable natural resource on Earth.
Despite ideas of progress not always matching parity, or the whole narrative of what's a man's or a woman's job, what these women are doing is significantly impacting lives right across the country.
The Water Resources Authority has 3 main roles. We investigate queries about new and existing water sources or resources. We collect data in terms of stream flow and quality, and we also allocate water to users such as the NWC, which is our biggest user, and other entities.
In order to allocate water, we would have to have an understanding of how much water is available. So we would do data collection such as flow measurements or well measurements and understand how much water is available to see how much water is in demand, and then we do the calculations. So where there is a deficit, water is usually supplied from areas where there's a surplus to balance things out.
For these women, their duties also expand to providing responses in times of drought.
The key to drought resiliency is improved capture and storage of water. Jamaica has more than enough water to serve its population. However, our problem is that we do not capture enough of it, and we do not have enough storage for the population. So the key is to capture it, reduce leaks, and to build more storage, install tanks, build more dams, and other types of reservoirs.
They're also testing and assessing the quality of our groundwater while keeping us all in the know.
Jamaica's groundwater quality is generally good. It meets the ambient standard, the national ambient standard. Ambient meaning doesn't need any treatment, right? However, there are a few basins that are contaminated due to pollution or saltwater intrusion. But for the most part across the island, our groundwater is pretty good for domestic use. However, for agricultural and industrial users, they may need to treat their water to international standards depending on what they're going to use it for.
And as for their perception on why the profession of hydrology or hydrogeology remains a male-dominated field?
For a hydrologist or hydrogeologist, being out in the field means doing physical and practical tasks. It usually includes long drives out of town, hiking through river valleys, over hills in search for water. The profession is usually male-dominated because we live in a society and a culture where men are usually seen as physically stronger, and they also require less security in the field.
Women were not allowed to work, we were not even allowed to become educated to do these jobs. So that has been changing with changing attitudes of both men and women. It's improving, but we have a far way to go.
And just like these 2 female hydrologists, many women are stepping into diverse professions, and they're changing the older narrative to craft their own stories.
Up next, we look at the story of one woman who is continuing a generational love that spreads community development.
Always behind the camera, organizing functions and events in her community of Longville Park, Clarendon, aptly supported by a robust team. It's the joy of doing what the heart calls for.
I think my love of volunteerism is innate. My mother was a volunteer, and while I was in her womb, she was volunteering in the National Youth Service in the 1970s. So I grew up in a family of volunteers. My mother, my grandmother, be it Sunday school, be it the community of Sanguinity. I'm from that type of background. And then when I came to Longville Park, I discovered an Active Citizens Association, which was so dynamic.
Eva Tomlinson's love of giving back to others has impact far beyond the many turns and slopes of her community. Her instrumental role in helping to get residents of Longville Park vaccinated against COVID-19, for example, supports the National Infection Prevention and Control agenda. This culture of giving back has been stealthily crafted since her youth.
It's a part of me. I studied in Canada, and their culture is built on volunteerism, and having been exposed to that type of culture of giving back, it means that you're able to make a contribution. It may not be a direct area that you work in professionally, but you have skill sets that you can use and other persons can benefit. The youths, the elderly, neighbors, friends can benefit from giving back and receiving.
In 2022, Ms. Tomlinson received the Badge of Honor for a long and faithful service at the National Honors and Awards ceremony, adding to her collection of awards for stellar contribution to community development. She says it is a humbling achievement.
It's a recognition, not just for myself, but other community volunteers, and also for my ancestors, my mother, my grandmother, who were volunteers in their own rights, that I can be such a recipient.
It unearths the golden thread of society, one that depends upon the harmony of unity and empowerment. It opens the channels of life to impacting the world for better. It is an area in which we need to see more persons involved. Eva's big heart drives her to advocate for more persons to get involved in volunteerism.
Persons can contribute more to being active in their neighborhood watch. Sports day events, youth, the elderly. There are so many areas within this community, and especially since we are transitioning. The original owners are getting older, getting into the retirement age, so there's always space for community volunteerism where persons can give back and make persons' life better.
If you missed aspects of today's show, visit our website at jis.gov.jm to find more content like this. You can also send your feedback on today's show or any of our programs via email to Jamica Magazine@jis.gov.jm. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Matron Atkinson. Remember, protect our women. See you next time.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.